narrative.
I pushed my chair back slightly, feeling the weight of all the eyes at the table shifting toward me. It started subtly. A small jab from my wife, something about how I could never fix anything around the house. I laughed it off, thinking it was just playful banter. But then she kept going. "You should have seen him last week trying to set up a simple shelf. It was like watching a toddler struggle with a puzzle," she said, giggling. Her mother laughed first, then her brother, then the rest of them joined in. I forced a smile, trying to remind myself that maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe she wasn't trying to embarrass me on purpose. But she wasn't done. And let's not even talk about how he handles stressful situations. One time he had to call my dad to change a tire. This time the laughter was louder. I clenched my jaw, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to cause a scene. It was her family after all. I tried to focus on my plate, but I could feel my face getting hot. I glanced at her, hoping to catch some kind of signal. Maybe she'd realize she was going too far. Maybe she'd see how uncomfortable I was. But no, she was enjoying this. Then her brother spoke up. "Man, I don't know how you got married. You're lucky my sister doesn't have higher standards." The laughter that followed hit differently this time. It wasn't just a joke anymore. It was a challenge. And then, as if she wanted to seal the moment, my wife leaned in with a smirk. "Oh, come on, we all know he's not exactly a real man." Silence. For a split second, there was nothing but the sound of silverware scraping against plates. My stomach tightened. I felt my hands clench under the table. A real man. I could have laughed it off, could have played along, could have taken the hit like I always did. But something about the way she said it, the ease, the confidence, the way she knew everyone would just agree, made something inside me snap. I wasn't angry. Not in the explosive, dramatic way people expect when someone is insulted like that. No, this was something colder, sharper. I looked around the table, at all of them still smirking, still entertained at my expense. And then I looked at her. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't apologetic. She wasn't even looking at me. Because to her, this was normal. I swallowed back every instinct to argue, to defend myself, to demand some kind of respect. Because I knew something she didn't. This was the last time she would ever get to humiliate me like this. The car ride home was suffocating. She was on her phone, scrolling like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just stripped me of every ounce of dignity in front of her entire family. The only sound in the car was the occasional vibration of a notification, the dull hum of the road beneath the tires. I kept my hands on the wheel, gripping a little too tight, my knuckles turning white. I could feel the weight of the words she had thrown at me still pressing down. Not a real man. I wanted to say something. I wanted to ask her what the hell that even meant. I wanted to know if she had any idea how it felt to sit there, completely exposed, while the people she called family laughed at me like I was some joke she regretted marrying. But I didn't say a word. She didn't either. That silence, that complete indifference from her, spoke louder than anything else. It told me everything I needed to know. When we pulled into the driveway, she finally looked up from her phone. "Are you seriously mad about that?" she asked, her voice laced with annoyance, as if I was the problem here. I let out a slow breath through my nose, forcing myself to stay calm. "Did you even hear yourself tonight?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, you're so sensitive. It was just a joke." A joke. I let the words settle between us, heavy, like it carried a different meaning for each of us. "A joke," I repeated, my voice eerily steady. "So when you called me not a real man, that was just comedy? You weren't actually saying what you think?" She sighed dramatically, like this conversation was exhausting her. "You take everything so seriously." "My family jokes like that all the time. It's not a big deal." "Not a big deal." I nodded slowly, more to myself than to her, because now I understood. This wasn't just about one dinner. This wasn't just a careless slip of the tongue. This was how she saw me. This was how she always saw me. And she wasn't sorry. She didn't even feel bad. I stepped out of the car without another word, shutting the door behind me. She stayed behind for a moment, probably waiting for me to get over it like I always did. But I wasn't getting over this. Not this time. I walked into the house without waiting for her. The front door clicked shut behind me, sealing in the quiet. She was still in the car, probably scrolling through her phone, waiting for me to get over it. But I wasn't going to. I stood in the dimly lit hallway for a moment, looking around the home we had built together, or at least the home I thought we had built together. Everything felt different now. The pictures on the walls, the furniture we picked out, even the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. It all felt foreign, like I was standing in a life that didn't belong to me anymore. I took a slow breath and walked toward the bedroom. The door behind me finally opened, and I heard her heels clicking against the floor. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. She went straight to the bathroom, and I heard the sound of water running. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. I don't know how long I stayed there, but at some point I stopped thinking about what had happened and started thinking about what needed to happen next. I wasn't going to argue with her. I wasn't going to beg for respect. I was done playing that role, so I made a choice. I didn't slam doors. I didn't throw things. I didn't even let her know I was making a decision. I simply stopped trying. The shift was subtle at first. I didn't wake up and declare I was a new man. I just let go. I stopped initiating conversations. If she wanted to talk, she could. If she didn't, I wasn't going to chase after her. I stopped making plans. If she wanted to spend time together, she could make the effort. If she didn't, I wasn't going to beg for it. I focused on myself, something I hadn't done in a long time. I started going to the gym consistently, not for her approval, but because I wanted to feel stronger. I spent more time on my own projects, diving into things I had put off for too long. I stopped waiting for her to appreciate me, and slowly I started realizing something. I had spent so much time trying to be good enough for her that I hadn't stopped to ask myself if she was good enough for me. Now I had my answer, and I didn't like it. At first she didn't notice, or maybe she did and just assumed I'd get over it, like I always had. Days passed, then weeks. I stayed quiet, but it wasn't the kind of silence she was used to. This wasn't the cold shoulder. It wasn't an attempt to make her chase after me. It was something else entirely. I had checked out. She still went about her routine as if nothing had changed. Wake up, scroll through her phone, make coffee, leave for work without so much as a glance in my direction. Normally, I'd be the one to break the ice, to fill the empty space with conversation or some meaningless attempt to win back her attention. Not anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't trying to make a point. I just didn't care. And that's when she started to care. It began with little things. She'd ask me what time I was coming home, something she never used to do. She started commenting on my schedule, making small remarks about how I was spending more time at the gym, at work, even just out of the house in general. "You've been really distant lately," she said one evening while I was getting ready to head out. I shrugged, pulling on my jacket. "Just busy." That answer didn't sit well with her, I could tell. I wasn't acting like the man she had grown comfortable controlling. I wasn't the one always reaching, always trying. And that shift was throwing her off balance. Then came the passive-aggressive remarks. "You've been working out a lot lately, trying to impress someone? Wow, you actually have plans. That's new." She was testing me, waiting for me to snap, to fight, to prove that I still cared enough to engage in whatever game she was playing. But I didn't. And that bothered her more than any argument ever could. One night she tried something different. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, the TV playing some show I wasn't paying attention to. She shifted closer, resting her hand on my arm. It was the first time in weeks she had shown any sort of affection toward me. I didn't pull away, but I didn't react either. "I feel like we've been off lately," she said, her voice softer than usual. "Don't you think?" I glanced at her, meeting her gaze for the first time in what felt like forever. Had we been off? No. She had just finally started feeling the absence of something I had felt missing for a long time. I let a beat of silence pass before I answered. "Yeah," I said simply. She waited, expecting me to say more, expecting me to do what I had always done, offer a solution, try to fix things, promise to be better, to try harder. But I didn't. And that was when she finally started to realize I wasn't the one who had something to prove anymore. She started watching me more closely after that. I could feel it. The way her eyes lingered a little longer when I walked past. The way she paid attention to my phone when it buzzed on the table. She wasn't used to this version of me. The one who didn't jump to fix things, who didn't beg for her attention, who didn't need her approval. And the more distant I became, the more she tried to pull me back. She started asking questions, ones she never used to care about. Where are you going? Who are you meeting? Why are you staying out so late? There was an edge to her voice, something I hadn't heard before. Not concern, not jealousy. It was fear. Fear that she was losing the control she had once held so effortlessly over me. But I had nothing to hide. I answered when I felt like it, shrugged when I didn't. My life no longer revolved around seeking her validation, and for the first time, she was the one feeling uncertain. And then came the dinner, another family gathering, just like the last one. Except this time I was different. She must have assumed that enough time had passed, that I had gotten over everything. She laughed at some inside joke with her brother, casually touching my arm, trying to include me. But I wasn't playing along. I was there physically, but I wasn't really there. The same family members who had mocked me weeks ago noticed the shift. "You've been quiet tonight," her mother pointed out. I gave a polite smile and took a sip of my drink. "Nothing much to say." My wife let out a forced laugh. "He's been so serious lately." She looked at me, waiting for me to joke back, to reassure her that everything was fine. But everything wasn't fine, and I wasn't going to pretend otherwise. Her brother smirked, sensing an opportunity. "You still struggling to be a real man, or did you finally figure it out?" The old me would have laughed it off, tried to prove myself, made some effort to win their approval. The new me, I just looked at him, held his gaze long enough for him to realize that I wasn't playing anymore. His smirk faded, and that was it. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to fight for respect that was never going to be given. My silence was my response, and this time, they felt it. The dinner continued, but the energy had shifted. My wife was fidgeting, uncomfortable with the way things were playing out. This wasn't the dynamic she was used to. For once, she was the one unsure of where she stood, and I had never been more certain of where I stood. I didn't belong there anymore. The drive home was different this time. She wasn't scrolling through her phone, wasn't pretending everything was normal. She just stared straight ahead, fingers drumming lightly against her thigh. I could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy, but I didn't break the silence. Let her sit in it. I pulled into the driveway, put the car in park, and stepped out without a word. I could hear her following behind me, her heels clicking against the pavement a little faster than usual. As soon as the door closed behind us, she spoke. "What the hell was that?" I turned to face her, meeting her eyes for the first time that night. "What was what?" She scoffed, crossing her arms. "Oh, don't do that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You sat there all night acting like a stranger, like you weren't even part of the conversation." I tilted my head slightly. Was I supposed to be? Her jaw tightened. "Are you seriously still mad about that stupid joke? That was weeks ago." I let out a slow breath. There it was again. She still didn't get it. "This isn't about the joke," I said, my voice calm. "It's about the fact that I finally saw things for what they are." She let out a humorless laugh. "Oh, please, enlighten me." I didn't react. I wasn't here to argue. I wasn't here to make her understand. That ship had sailed. "I spent years trying," I said simply, "trying to be good enough for you, trying to prove myself, trying to fit into whatever version of aerial man you and your family think I should be." Her arms dropped to her sides. "And now you're done?" I nodded. "Yeah, I am." For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she let out a breath, shaking her head. "You're being dramatic." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. "You keep telling yourself that," I said as I walked past her, heading for the bedroom. I grabbed a bag from the closet and started throwing clothes into it. She followed me in, her voice rising. "Oh, so what? You're just leaving? Just like that?" I zipped the bag closed. "Yeah, just like that." She let out a bitter laugh. "Right, so what? You think you're punishing me? That I'm going to beg you to stay?" I turned to face her one last time. "No, I think you're going to do exactly what you've always done. Pretend you don't care. Pretend you're better off. And maybe you are." I slung the bag over my shoulder and stepped past her. But so am I. I walked out without looking back. No yelling. No dramatic goodbyes. She wasn't worth that kind of ending. I don't remember exactly how long I drove that night. I wasn't rushing to get anywhere. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't running from anything either. I just drove, windows down, cool air hitting my face as the weight of everything I had carried for years started to lift, little by little. I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel lost. I felt free. I ended up at a small motel just outside of town. It wasn't anything special, but it was mine for the night. I tossed my bag on the floor, sat down on the edge of the bed, and just breathed. No tension, no second guessing. No one sitting next to me, waiting for me to apologize for something I shouldn't be sorry for. I had been afraid that leaving would feel like failure, that I would regret it, that I'd miss her. I didn't. What I missed was myself, the version of me that wasn't constantly proving, chasing, trying to be something I was never meant to be, the version of me that deserved more. That night, I slept better than I had in years. The next few weeks passed quietly. No explosive texts, no dramatic calls. She didn't beg me to come back, and I didn't expect her to. She had always been too proud for that. But I knew she felt it. She felt the absence of the man who had spent years bending over backward to make her happy. And I felt the presence of someone I had neglected for too long. Me. I moved into my own place. Nothing big, nothing fancy, just mine. I focused on myself, on my work, on the things that actually brought me peace. I didn't jump into a rebound. I didn't rush to fill the space she left behind. Because the truth was, she hadn't left a space. She had only ever occupied the parts of me that doubted my own worth. And now, that doubt was gone. I never spoke to her again. Never needed to. Life moved on, and so did I. But sometimes I wonder if she ever sits alone in that house, scrolling through her phone, realizing that she had never broken me. She had only set me free. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.